Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Glossy Philosophy. My name is Jansen Binman and today we are doing an Americana inspired makeup look, which is also coinciding with another Lisa Eldridge holiday gift kit featuring the Muse eyeshadow palette and the Muse lip gloss. So let's get started. I've already washed my face and done my skincare, so let's start by neutralizing the face. We are going to start with the Bobbi Brown Corrector in light to medium Bisque. I'm going to take that on my ring finger and just gently pat that underneath the eye, anywhere where I'm seeing a little bit of discoloration. If you feel like you're too heavy-handed with your finger, a great tip is to use a brush, something like a Duo Fiber from MAC, or even the 57 from Sephora, the Pro Concealer brush. Nice and fluffy. It'll pick up just a little bit of this and you can gradually build as needed. But you can see that that corrector just takes down a little bit of purpley blue that's underneath my eyes. And when you neutralize the skin, it just helps to see the full picture a little bit easier than if you are fighting against any discoloration that's on the face. So now I'm going to go in and neutralize my eyelids as well because I do have some veins kind of peeking through. I'm going to use the NARS Pro Prime. This is the tinted one in light. It comes in lots and lots of different shades, which is great. So everybody is welcome to the party. And just a thin layer. You don't grab very much. A tube will last you, depending on how often you put your makeup on, it will last you quite a while. I think I go through 2 a year and I wear makeup almost every single day. Or I'm at least neutralizing my face if I'm not wearing eyeshadow. So now we are ready to move on. Now, Lisa Eldridge's Muse Palette, it is a really interesting formula. There's no fallout and it's a different way to pick up a powder than usual from MAC or any of the other companies. So we'll kind of talk about that, but because I know that there's not going to be any fallout, I can do my complexion already. So now I'm going to go in with my concealer and then we'll continue on with the complexion. So I'm just doing a really light little fan underneath my eyes. Usually you hear the words a triangle of light underneath the eye, but as I've spoken before, depending on your face shape and depending on your age, doing such a graphic shape on the face can sometimes be a little detrimental. It can, whatever shape you put your makeup on, that's kind of how it lasts throughout the day and how it shows through, even if you are incredible at blending. Because a graphic shape on an older face or one that is already elongated can just really emphasize all those angles, and maybe you want to soften them just a little bit. So if you feel like your concealer isn't working quite right when you put it on by doing a triangle, try just kind of fanning it out and doing a little bit of a softer triangle instead, and that should kind of clear up anything that you've been struggling with. Now we're going to go in with Lisa's Seamless Skin, and I'm going to just start by dotting on the cheeks and then blending out. So again, wherever you put your makeup first, that's where you get the most bang for your buck. That's where the coverage is going to be the strongest, so I always put it wherever I'm seeing more high color, more redness, maybe a pimple or anything like that. That's where I want to place the product first because that's where it's going to stick first. And then you just softly blend out the edges to the other parts of the face that don't have any of the high color or the redness or whatever else might be happening that day. And it is totally normal for things to kind of move as temperatures move, as you change skincare. Sometimes, depending on what I'm using in my skincare, my redness on my cheeks can be a little bit higher or a little bit lower. It just depends. It depends on many things. So don't freak out if things are a little bit different from day to day. Now I probably could have just gotten by with one pump. I say one pump is like a light plus coverage, so I have quite a bit left on my hand, and as we are getting into winter, I'm not going to bring it down my neck like I was in the summer, so I'm actually just going to wipe that off, and I can come back to it if I need to with any blush or blending with that. I am going to set with my really big brush into my Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powder. And I'm just going to morph my brush into something of a smaller brush underneath my eyes. And then if I need to, I will use a smaller brush a little bit later afterwards if I feel like I need a little bit more shine control. But I just wanted to really quickly set everything so that we can move on to the eyes. So now I'm going to go in with Victoria Beckham's Kajal liner, and I'm just going to do a quick tight line. Tight lining is something I learned from a NARS makeup artist, and it just makes a world of difference. You could even get by without doing a liner one day and just do your mascara and the tight lining, and it just really pops your lashes in a very unique way than putting just a liner on top. It's not going to get all that white, all that pink part that's close to the eye. You need to do that tight lining to really make a full, huge impact. As I was looking at photos that inspired the Americana video from Wednesday, I noticed that there's not a lot of makeup. It's all very natural, so that's kind of what we're going with. You might be looking at the Muse palette and thinking, this is monochromatic, but there's a lot of deeper colors, and you're right. So we are going to very gently blend them out, and we are definitely going to use one of the lighter colors to just add a little bit of light, a little bit of shimmer onto our eye. This is a great one for fall and a great one for holiday because you do have those deeper Bordeaux tones, which is very popular right now. And it plays really nicely with browns, reds, cranberries, all of those ready, rusty colors. This is a really great palette. So let's get going. I'm actually going to start with my Sonia Kashuk, which is a tapered crease brush, and I'm just going to do a wash of color using the lightest shade in the palette. It is a matte shade, and instead of swishing my brush or doing circles, which is what I would normally do, I'm almost just patting the eyeshadow, and it comes off really, really lovely. When I initially got this palette, I wasn't sure this was going to work out for me because I couldn't figure out how to pick up the shadow. And then I re-watched a tutorial of Lisa using her palette, and I realized that I was using it in an incorrect way. So sometimes as technology changes, the way that we pick up eyeshadow is going to be a little bit different. With some other brands, you really need to get in there with your brush. With other brands, it's just a light swirl and then a tap to get off the excess. And with Lisa's eyeshadows, it does seem to be that we are being really gentle with the eyeshadow, that doing these quick motions actually disrupts the technology that's in there, and you can get kind of a film on your brush and a film on the actual eyeshadow. So just kind of play around with things before you decide that it doesn't work for you. You might just be picking up your eyeshadow incorrectly. I'll also say about this palette is that it doesn't create a mess, which is so great. I love a silky eyeshadow, but I can't stand the mess that some of the silky versions bring. And especially if you're thinking about working in a professional way, the less mess you can have, the better, because you cannot on a professional palette because you are literally spitting on the eyeshadow. So if you ever see that from a professional makeup artist, that's a big no-no. Okay, now we're going to go into the medium shade and just build up the crease a little bit. I'm going to stick with my Sonia Kashuk, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just kind of wiggling and petting the eyeshadow with my brush a little bit. But you can see that gave a really nice sheer wash of almost like a salmon-y color. So now I'm just really getting into that socket, and just really lightly, I'm kind of doing little circles, just kind of building that up. This brush is pretty fluffy, so if I go too crazy, it's going to really disperse the shadow, which we do not want. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take another brush, and I'm just going to blend it out a little bit. So 217, just kind of softening any of those edges. I can also use my fingers if I need to. making sure that we're liking where that's going. Now I'm wearing a lot of brown in my dress and a little bit of black, so I am going to go in with that deeper shade just to darken up the outer corner a little bit. Just putting a little on that outer third, maybe even outer fourth, and then bringing up into the socket and into the crease. I'm going to knock off the excess powder on my little towel down here, and I'm going to go in and just soften that up a little bit because I do want this to be nice and soft. I don't want it to be too graphic. It doesn't really fit in with the Americana vibe. Now 2 shadows might be just fine for you, and that is totally fine. Maybe you slam on that lighter shade with your finger and you call it good. But again, for me, I feel like if I'm not defining my eye space, then my eyes just kind of flatten out and my bone structure just flattens out in an unappealing way. I'm going to go in with this latest shade now, which is Love in Venice. How lovely. And you can absolutely use your finger, but because I just did my skincare, my finger has a little bit of oil still on there, and I don't want to get that on the eyeshadow. So I'm going to use a BK Beauty Brush 203, and I'm just going to do a nice wash of that all over the lid. You'll get a little bit more impact if you use your finger. And I'm just going to bring that into the inner corner, and it gives just a really nice little glow. Instead of doing a liquid liner, I'm going to go in with Chocolate Shimmer on my angled brush, working on the outside of the pot in so I don't create that air pocket. I'm just going to do a little kitten wing, bring that in. I'm doing Chocolate Shimmer because, again, I want this to be softer. I don't want it to be quite so graphic. And then I'll go back in with that darker shadow again and just lightly tap that on top of the liner so that I have a little bit more longevity throughout the day. Lisa does have a Muse lipstick as well. It's in a different formula than the one that I am really partial to, which is the Luxuriously Lucent Lip Color. Those are my favorites, and Muse doesn't come in that one. So we're just going to be using the gloss. Actually, we'll pop that on because my lips are very dry. This is, I think, my 3rd tube since I started this channel. So it's a favorite for sure. Okay, going back to the eyes, I'm going to take a pencil brush into that darkest shade, and I'm just really lightly going to tap that or press that right on top of my Chocolate Shimmer. Again, just for longevity, but the powder and the gel is going to create just a really nice soft liner. You could smoke it out a little bit more, but I like a little bit more definition, even if I'm going with a slightly more everyday look. Of course, we are going to do primer because why wouldn't you want your lashes to look full and voluminous and amazing? Especially when you're working with monochromatic, it's kind of nice to have a stopping point where your lashes can really shine against some of those monochromatic shades. In a photography course that I took many years ago, they said one of the things that signals beauty to the brain is to have a very dark lash line and to also have a dark outer part of your iris. So that is something that this photographer was talking about editing in the photos, was just darkening up that lash line and doing a few other things with the eyes just to really pop that. So I always think about that when I'm doing my makeup, especially if I'm doing something for film or for photos. I really want a dark lash line because it makes a huge difference and it saves me editing time as well. And then just a quick tap on the lower lash line. And now we are ready to just whip out that complexion. So going in with my NATASHA DENONA bronzer on the BK Beauty bronzer brush, just really quickly, because I am wearing brown, I can add a little bit more and it feels cohesive with what I'm wearing today. Bringing that down the neck and maybe just a tap on the nose and a little bit on the chin, making sure that everything again, is just really nice and soft. And then final touches, we are going to add just a little bit of the elevated highlighter, just using our fingers. So I put a little bit on my middle finger, and then I'm just going to tap that right on that bone, kind of wrapping around the eyes. And then if I need to, just patting that in. We're going to skip blush because we have so much rosiness going on. I feel like we don't really need it, especially with the bronzer. And that is the finished look. Thank you guys so much for watching this tutorial based on the holiday kit offered by Lisa Eldridge with the Muse offering, and also with an Americana vibe, using those earth tone colors for all of your earth tone clothing that you're going to be wearing this fall. I do fashion videos every Wednesday, beauty videos every Friday. Make sure you are following me on Instagram and watching the shorts for tips and tricks to make your life a little bit easier and a little bit more glossy. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe, and I'll see you very soon. Bye!